So you want more traffic to your MSP's website, and you've maybe even looked at how to improve your SEO, your search engine optimization. But did you know there's a solid basic that you must get right first? It's something really easy that you can do yourself in just an hour or so. My special guest today is an expert at exactly this subject. He'll tell you what this is, why you must get it right, and how getting it right can drive a lot more traffic and ultimately new clients into your business.
Hi, I'm Andrew Laws. I am the senior owner of White Hair at YesEO, and I help businesses grow.
That's got to be one of those names that you sit there and you're thinking, right, we need a new business name. We're going to do SEO. We've got a positive attitude. I got it. Let's call it YesEO. It's a brilliant company name. Thank you so much for joining me on the show, Andrew. And we're going to talk today primarily about Google Business Profile. Well, every MSP needs to be on top of that, the mistakes that you're going to make, why you mustn't make those mistakes, and how it affects your overall SEO. And before we get into that, just tell us a bit about you, Andrew. So you've got this agency, you've clearly been doing marketing a very long time. How did you get into it and get into the position of owning the business you've got now?
I got into this by being an IT consultant initially, and this is back in the days of building web servers and coloing them. So you're driving them off to mysterious cupboards on the internet all over the place, and started building websites and realized no one's going to see these websites. And then Alta Vista and Hotbot and all these mysterious search engines came along, and I thought, you know what? If my websites get found first, I'll probably do okay. So to test it, I launched a badge making company. I only had the budget to buy the badge making machine, but I had that and SEO. And that company, which I haven't owned for years, is still number one in the country 25 years later. And I think that's quite exciting.
That is pretty exciting, and what is the ultimate test? And I guess that's the kind of thing you could do 25 years ago when there wasn't a lot of competition. But obviously today there is an enormous amount more competition, and in fact, it's one of the biggest marketing challenges for MSPs is how do you beat all of the other MSPs in this town when actually you've got one or two players investing in SEO, you've got a couple of other players investing in pay-per-click, and everyone else seems to be dominant. Let's come back to Google and Google in particular. Why should we bother with Google? Because you're talking about the past days, and Google has been the dominant search engine, still continues to be these days. But the US government's trying to break it apart, and ChatGPT is trying to steal its breakfast. And voice search. I mean, voice search it's been around for years, but it seems like today it's more better than it used to be. Is it still worth us bothering with Google?
It absolutely is. When it comes down to it, if you don't tell Google about your business, Google will just make stuff up. And the danger is they're going to tell your potential clients about those things. I won't go into great depth, but everything that I'm going to talk about today also fits for AI. So I won't go into too much depth on that now, but good practice with Google equals good practice with AI and getting found by voice search and the other things you mentioned.
Yeah, which I think are going to be more important things we're going to talk about in the years to come. So let's do the basics on Google Business Profile. Can we even go back a step and explain what is Google Business Profile and sort of where's it come from and why is it so important right now?
Well, it's come from Google's obsession with becoming the most dominant thing on the earth. But you will have seen this many times yourself. It comes up in two places. If you search for something on Google, sometimes a little map section pops up. It'll have a little map, hopefully of roughly where in the world you are. Then it'll list 3, maybe 5 businesses, and you can see how many reviews they've got and things like that. That information is taken from Google Business Profile. You might also have seen it on Google Maps. Even just on your phone, if you're searching for something and you see little flags or little pointers showing you where businesses are, that all comes from Google Business Profile.
And so as an MSP, you can't assume that Google knows that you exist and that you're there. Even if you've been around for a number of years in your location, you have to claim the profile and you have to go and do some work to make sure Google has the correct information. You
absolutely do. And the good news is that it's not a lot of work. The important information to remember here, though, is Google will make it up. I'm a guitarist, so I spend more money than I should on effects pedals, little boxes that make silly noises. And I had one delivered to an office where I used to be located. I was like, oh my goodness. So I looked up who was in the building now, and it said the building name, it said the company name, and then there was this red text that said permanently closed. And I thought, oh no, I've lost my pedal. How am I going to explain that to my partner? It's going to be hard enough to explain why I spent so much anyway. So I drove out there expecting to find an abandoned building, and there was a thriving business in there. And I went in and I said, first of all, thank you for taking my parcel. And I said, do you know Google's telling people you're permanently closed? And they just shrugged. And I find that alarming because any of the MSP owners watching this or listening to it will have spent money marketing their business already, telling people about the business, or just growing the business by being an excellent MSP provider. It crushes me to think that Google might be telling your audience that they've gone out of business.
And that's just Google assuming it, of course. It does make me laugh. There's about half an hour away from my home, there is a massive empty site that used to be a Brickworks, I think, and Universal, as in the theme parks, predominantly in the US, have bought that land.
Wow.
And they're talking about building Europe's biggest theme park there. And what's funny is a couple of weeks ago, it turned up on Google as a Google business listing as permanently closed. And we're talking a site that's a brownfield site. There's nothing there. And that did amuse people locally. But it just goes to show that, there's no human at Google doing this. I guess it's just the machine making assumptions. Oh, no one's claimed this. We haven't heard anything from this for a while, and we're going to close this down. Okay, so let's recommend something right now for all MSPs. Unless you are driving right now, grab your mobile phone or get on your PC and just Google your own business and just double check what it would. And we're looking at the right hand side, aren't we, Andrew? What the Google business
It's often
profile.
on the right hand side. If you put in the exact name of your business, it's usually going to come up on the right hand side, and there's going to be some information there, and you need to check that's correct, because this can come down to your office hours or when you're actually available. I mean, as MSP owners, I guess, are technically available all the time. Is that fair, or am I going to upset people?
Technically available all the time, but you've heard of sleep, of course, which is kind of important. Most people have office hours in some way, but no, you're absolutely right. And things like those are details that you perhaps want to control yourself. If you have a listing on Google, but you haven't yet claimed it, so you can see that your business is there and there's some information which may or not be correct, but you don't have a way of doing that, how do you actually claim that business in the first place? It's
delightfully easy, but people think it's quite difficult. So you might find that your MSP, your competitors, your other MSP owners will be scared of this. So I'm going to make it very, very simple. Google your name, as Paul just said, and if you look very closely in that box of information, there'll be a little bit of text that says something like, own this business, claim it now. I say like this text because it does change, but it will be clear. If you can't find that, the other easiest way to do it is just go to business.google.com. Any browser, any computer, and when you get there, you'll have the opportunity to claim your business. And it's easy, I promise, it's really easy.
And I know back in the day, they used to do a thing where they would send a letter out to that physical address with a verification code. Are they still doing that in 2025?
Sometimes, but most of the time not. It's a curious thing that they've stopped sending that postcard out. Usually they'll ask you for a business number, and it doesn't matter if it's a landline or a mobile number. And if you do that, they'll ring your number straight away, and there'll be a very emotionless Google voice on the other end that will give you a number to put into the website. But it all happens instantly. It's all while you're there. What we're finding increasingly these days is MSP owners who have also set up other Google things. So maybe you're using Gmail or Google Analytics or one of those. Google kind of goes, oh, actually, we already know who you are. And we didn't know you were connected to this business, so now we have more trust in this business. And when Google trusts a business, they put those businesses higher up in search results. So yes, they do. Sometimes they ask people to make a video, but don't let that worry you. No human's ever going to see it.
That's good. That's good. I can't imagine what kind of video would be of interest to Google, but I guess it's just one of those verification videos that you get. So in terms of once you've claimed that profile, and for those MSPs that are already all over this and they've done this before, perhaps the crime they're then committing is not going in and updating that regularly, or you can do actual text updates. In fact, with our MSP Marketing Edge service, we give our members some content to put into Google Business Profile every single week. There's a video and some text they can put in, which obviously, again, comes up on the right-hand side when someone looks for their business. And I don't know whether it has any algorithmic benefit or not, but from a human point of view, it certainly shows that you're active. So what would you suggest the average MSP does, and what kind of cadence should they go in and check information and add updates?
At the very least, get the Google Business Profile app on your phone, because that will give you prompts. And even if you're not necessarily really focused on digital marketing, because it can be a challenge, unless you have somebody like Paul do it for you, if you're not necessarily focused on it, they will prompt you. In terms of what the frequency should be, there isn't a real carved in stone answer. I would say get to know your competitors, look what they're doing, and then go one step better. Incidentally, you mentioned something there. We're not going to talk in depth about SEO, but you mentioned, does it make any difference to post your new articles on your Google Business Profile? We believe it absolutely does, because when you put a new article on a website, it can take Google a little while to figure out it's there. If you put it in your Google Business Profile, it's like ringing a bell at Google HQ and some little robot goes running to its desk and goes, hey, look, this company's got a new post. We'd better tell everyone about it. As a rule, you can assume with any Google service, if you doff your cap to them and play their games, you'll probably do well from it.
Yes, I like the sound of that. And just, you mentioned SEO. Let's just look at Google within part of your overall SEO strategy. So let's take the average MSP that wants local business owners and managers within a certain geographical area, and increasingly those geographical areas are getting wider. But as an SEO expert, how important do you believe the Google Business Profile is as part of your overall SEO strategy?
It's incredibly important, especially if you service a geographical area, because Google will look at the address that you've confirmed when you've signed up for Google Business Profile, and then they'll look at the address on the bottom of your website. So those two things have to be exactly the same. Then Google goes out and looks at local directories like yell.com or Scoot or any of the many ones, and it starts to build a picture in Google's mind of how important you are for a specific area. So one of the things we recommend, which is quite an easy SEO win to help you kind of appear more often, is create case studies about people you have helped in your area. Because Google sees the address on Google Business Profile, it sees the address on your website, and it sees the town name where you've written a brilliant article about being the best MSP in the country, means that you helped Jack's Cafe in Brentwood do something cool. So I ran out at the end there, but in answer, the easy answer is it's very important.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Andrew. You've delivered a ton of value there, and it all sounds like basic stuff, but often these are the basic building blocks that people skip over in the drive to do the new, exciting, shiny things. So please do, as an MSP listening to this or watching this, please do jump on that and make sure you've ticked every box there. Andrew, tell us a little bit more what you do to help MSPs, and how can we get in touch with you?
Put simply, we get MSPs more clients. We find the people who need your services, and we make sure they find you before they find your competitors. If you'd like to find out more about what we do, please have a look at yeseo.io. That's YESEO.io. And you'll see my gurning face on there somewhere. Or you can look for me on LinkedIn. Just do a search for Andrew Laws.
Paul Green's MSP Marketing Edge.